Star-eyed baby of mine, open your mind, open your eyes. It's time to recognize that a second-hand God is just mirrors and lies.
And it's an interesting thing about worthiness because we spend our lives trying to prove we're worthy. Like children, they're not born like that. Like my grandson, like he's not thinking, am I worthy today? Am I worthy? Is mommy going to think I'm worthy to hold me or, nurse me or whatever? It doesn't happen. But we get to a certain age where we start questioning our worthiness, and that's usually about the time that we start school. 5 years old, particularly in the United States and other countries too. We go to school, and what happens? Immediately, we're taught that there's right and wrong, that there's good and bad, that there's failure and success, that there's deserving and non-deserving, and of course, this is all under the umbrella of worthiness. You're either worthy or you're not worthy. And then we spend the next 12 or more years in that dynamic, in that program. And so, of course, when we're out of school, we're still running the program, and you could see it all around. The worthiness program going on all around in our governments, in our financial institutions, in our religious systems, in our communities, in our societies. You're either worthy or not worthy. And if you're not worthy, then your survival's at risk. And this is the game that we've been playing. And this is why we see so much disharmony and so much war and so much chaos, because we're playing this worthiness game. And it's not just like, am I worthy, but I have to be more worthy than you. Well, where can that lead? Except in war and fighting, except in divorce, except in chaos and crisis. It can't lead any other way. And that's why we're where we are now. But the thing is, it's all an illusion. That this whole concept that I had to prove that I was worthy, that was an illusion. And that as soon as I try to prove that I'm worthy, I've already considered myself unworthy. That's it. Now, to take that game away and just to know that no matter what I do, if I sit on this rock for the rest of my life and do nothing, I am just as worthy as if I write 10 best-selling books. I'm just as worthy, and it's simply a choice. Now the pressure's off. Now I no longer have to do things out in the world to prove that I'm worthy. And what's true for me is true for you and true for everyone. To get to that point where I no longer have to play this game, this lifetime game, or maybe many, many, many lifetimes of trying to prove my worth and not really living my life. Now I just get to be me, and I just get to be free. That's the willingness. That's the readiness. That's the freedom. Of course, April. History of childhood abuse. She came into our lives when she was 16. My son met her and suffered from huge, huge unworthiness issues for many years. And now, look at this beautiful, magnificent woman that she is, because she gets her worthiness. And I'll tell you that she did the work. She was willing to look at those painful areas. She was willing to do it because she realized that her life was at risk. And really, that's what we're talking about. As long as we run that worthiness program, our life is at risk. You cannot live your life and live that program. You can't. You can't. And now she knows. She's free. There's nothing to prove, and there's nothing to do. And whatever there is to do is just because she wants to. My own worthiness. Oh, my goodness. How do I know this so well? Okay. This is not book read, okay? This is my life. This is my life. When I was 16, I was in an abusive relationship. I had no worth whatsoever. No worth. And after that relationship, I got out of it and got pregnant with my son, April's husband. I was 17, hadn't a clue, and when I decided to have my baby, I said, well, what's the one thing that I want to teach him? And the answer was worth. I want him to know his own worth. And I realized there was a problem because I didn't know mine. And so I decided that I would figure it out. And I set out on this path to figure out what it was. And at first, I had the sense of worth that came from, my intelligence and what I did in life and the way I looked and friends and degrees. And honestly, that was necessary for me to begin to understand that I was capable. But there got to be a point where I still didn't have real worth. And I realized, oh, it has nothing to do with any of those things. And so I let go of them. Not literally, but energetically, that I no longer put my worth on those things. Those things still existed in my life. But I took my worth, I literally disconnected my worth from the things that I did, or anything external for that matter. And I started to look inside myself and figure out, oh, and drop into this place of like, okay, so I really am unworthy. And what's that like? And dropping deep enough and far enough, found myself. I found myself. You know, but it's a funny thing about finding yourself. It doesn't really have a dead end. It keeps going. It keeps going. There's no end to it.
Endlessly I searched through all this facade, but all I ever found was just a second-hand God. I was looking for God in all the wrong ways. I thought I found him once or twice, but he never stayed. Starlight, baby of mine, open your mind, open your eyes. It's time to recognize that a second-hand God is just mirrors and light.